So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome everybody here to the Fake Teacher Podcast. This is going to be my first short live. I want to do this because I feel like it's necessary and I feel like it's important to introduce who I am. Salute to you, Red Velvet 305. So, the first and foremost thing is this. I have spent a lot of years and experience with education, both public and private. So, what you're going to get from this channel is you're not going to get some um, uneducated rants, and you're not going to get some emotional um, statements from me. What you're going to get is the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So I started this channel because this is necessary, um, because everybody has a vested interest in education. Everybody either was taught by an educator or somebody has someone who's currently being taught by an educator. Give a child is education. That's why I have this page. That's why I created this channel. That's why I created this moment because I wanted to be able to have these conversations with people so they know they can have a conversation about education and get a real answer instead of some political bullshit. Instead of getting some um, politically correct response. Because the truth of the matter is, one of the most suppressed voices in society is the voice of teachers and the voice of principals, the voice of people who actually work in education. Because it's so easy for people to get fired over their educational views or their opinions when they are the ones who are in the line of fire and they see the stuff every single day. But because society doesn't like them speaking and giving their opinion, society will try to suppress them, tell them to shut up, silent. Teach my kid, but don't teach my kid how to think. Teach my kid, but don't have an opinion of your own or belief system of your own. And don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those people to believe that you should go into the classroom with your agenda and your political ideology. Keep that shit at home. I'm not, this page is not for, this page does not welcome that type of nonsense. So, no, this page does not endorse it, nor does it encourage political activism in the classroom. With that being said, if you want to support the Fake Teacher Fund, because it's real out here in these streets, if you want to support me ever through Cash App, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to keep a meter of my Cash Apps to see how much money I can generate and raise towards my retirement system, jokingly speaking, but just to see how fun that's going to be. Because everyone talks about teachers need to get paid more. Everyone talks about, oh, well, teachers are underappreciated. But when it comes to the rubber meeting the road, everybody always wants to throw the teachers under the bus. I'm here as an advocate for education. So the first thing I want to say, and the first thing I want to share, and the first thing we have to establish with this channel is education is failing. You heard me right. You heard me clear. You heard me correct. Education is a failure right now in the United States of America. We cannot sit here and say education has been great or education works or education is a success or this model of education is going to carry us the next 50 years even. The kids are coming out not as smart as they used to be, not as critically thinking as they once were, more apt to addiction than they used to be, diagnosed with more ailments than they once had, and they're unhealthy. We've strayed away from even the worst circumstances and scenarios. Let's say segregation, for example. The one thing the black students had in segregation was teachers who identified with their culture and reflected who they were and reflected their belief system, reflected who they were in their family dynamic. The teachers lived next door to their parents. So I'm a big advocate for speaking out about black education in particular when I point out the fact that education has failed a certain demographic of people. One of my belief systems is I do believe in educational reparations. I believe that Black people are owed a reparation for their education, whether it be student debt relief, whether it be college tuition, whether it be something. It doesn't need to be a blank check. I don't believe in blank check reparations. But no other group of people, no other race of people were impacted more by their state and federal government when it comes to education than Black America. And that's why you see a lot of the negative trends when it comes to Black society and the educational structure as a whole right now. Well, Mel, oh, you're Black and you have an education. I'm an anomaly. Okay. And I'm not saying that most Black folks don't have an education, but I am saying the system was rigged against them when integration happened. Because what you did when integration happened was you took the Black teachers and you got rid of those Black teachers, most of them, and you put the sole education of an entire society and group of people in the hands of the same white segregationist teachers who didn't want them in that building in the first place. So that's why you're going to see social promotion. That's why you're going to see an increase in diagnosis of behavior. That's why you're going to see all these different things when we talk about the failure of education on this channel. I'm going to bring the evidence about these things. I'm not going to just have a conversation with you. I'm not just going to say, this is what I feel. I'm going to show you why this is what it is. Oh, that's the pool. I was wondering, I'm like, what the hell is that? They're starting up the motors in the pool. So this page is not going to be a page where I just give you something that doesn't have some substance or doesn't have information to it. So yes, education is failing. Education has failed. Education has been a failure for the last realistically 50, 60 years. Good morning, Barbara Perea. I'm sorry. But and guys, if you have not subbed up to my channel, make sure that you sub up to it and make sure that you guys are here for good content and make sure that you have an open mind and an open heart to what I'm sharing. Slightly True said, any advice from someone trying to be a turtle, go get therapy. So that would be my advice. Now, guys, make sure y'all hit that like button. And like I said, if you want to support to the Fake Teacher Fund, the Cash App is in the title because, like I said, everybody needs to be supported, and educators need to be supported, and educators need a space that they can share their opinions unfiltered and unpoliticized without the threat of people trying to cancel them, trying to dox them, trying to do all these sorts of evil, nasty things just because they have a damn opinion. But back to the failure of education. You guys notice that kids are I saw a study that said 1 in 7 children or 1 in 5 children are diagnosed on the spectrum of autism. If that is true, that means we have gone backwards when it comes to medical advancements and we've gone backwards to educational advancements. No, that does not mean, oh, well, we just didn't know about it. No, that means that we're trying to create every single opportunity to diagnose a child. And this has adverse effects on particularly Black students because a majority of the majority of the students who are being tested and labeled autistic or tested and labeled ADHD or ADD, oppositional defiant disorder. See, I know some of the stuff that I'm talking about, right? They happen to be students who are Black or students who are minority. That's not pointing the finger, that's not placing the blame, but it goes back to what I said before. When you put education of a whole society in the hands of the people who didn't want them to have that education in the first place. Bruno here, what's up? But that's neither here nor there. I'm here to answer any questions. So in the chat, if you have any questions other than advice on trying to be a turtle, uh, You can even ask that question too. Feel free to type it in the chat. But my goal in this channel will be to have real conversations about education. If you guys go and look at some of the shorts I put up, you also are noticing an increase in sexually deviant behavior among so-called educators who are predators, in my opinion, and how they prey on children in the school building. One of them I posted, her name was Marka Bodine, and this was a tragedy in itself because this case happened 2 years ago. This woman was a middle school teacher. She befriended one of her sixth grade students. Now, guys, I want y'all to think about that sixth grade. I got a son that's in the fifth grade. He's starting to get a little changes, starting to grow some hair on his arms, starting to grow some hair on his legs, even maybe a little bit of a mustache too. So I know he's going through that change. Have that conversation with your kids, by the way. But this child was in the sixth grade, and this so-called woman, I'm gonna call her a so-called woman, decided to befriend this child by playing Fortnite online. See, this is why everybody tells you, yes, there are predators who intentionally prey on kids who prey on kids through gaming. She befriended him. 3 years worth of grooming. When that child turned 13, she R-worded him. I hate the fact you gotta say R word instead of saying the real word because that's what it was. And the only reason this was found out was because 3 years after that, when this little traumatized boy was 16, Marka Bodine had to tell her principal that a former student was stalking her and was threatening to unalive himself if she did not talk with him. Now, y'all think about that for a moment. How else is this child supposed to react when he was groomed, assaulted, and then he was discarded? The worst tragedy about this whole case, like I said, you can see that my short on this that I put up. The worst tragedy about this whole case was that the judge gave this so-called woman a 60-day jail sentence because she just had a baby with her husband. Now imagine being her husband, knowing that her son and knowing that his wife had an attraction to a 12-year-old penis. Disgusting, right? See, I told you, I said I'm here to tell the truth. And the judge gave her 60 days. See, I know we talk about white privilege, black privilege, but there's such thing as gender privilege too. Because there's no way in hell a man's going to groom a child for 3 years, assault that child, and only get 60 days in jail. The other gentleman I put up, I think his name was Michael Enriquez down in Miami-Dade, who's probably going to get 20 years. Got 20, it's probably going to get 20 years. We've got to stop making bad behavior excusable based on gender and color. Bad behavior is bad behavior. So I'm just here to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Make sure y'all hit the like button as well as you're coming in and watching. But this is another failure in education because a lot of schools don't talk about that stuff. They have a teacher should know better. I'm on the belief that nobody, unless you're Mark Badine's sick ass, I'm on the belief that 90% of teachers who get busted with that type of behavior, I'm on the belief that 90% of them don't start off as being predators. They don't talk about doing things to safeguard yourself from school. Now, I knew better and I know better. Yes, Red Velvet, it's a damn shame. But parents, you guys need to talk about this with your kids about if your child does not feel safe in a classroom with their teacher, or if they're getting a relationship too comfortable with their teachers. You know what that looks like. That looks like if the teacher is personally contacting your kid at late hours of the night. It looks like if that teacher is always buying food for your kid, or your kid is skipping classes so that teacher can and staying in that teacher's room. See, we're going to talk about all of this stuff. You have a right to ask questions, but don't falsely accuse. See, don't falsely accuse. So this is just a little bit of a sample. Um, it's weird. I just got a blessing from someone who's watching, I guess watching from the bushes. But hey, thank you guys so much for that. I'll never put the names out of the people who give those blessings, because we have some doxing weirdos in YouTube, which is why I created this channel, to go away from all of that stuff. So I'll never put your name out there if you do want to contribute to the fake teacher fund. But at the same time, I do muchly appreciate that and greatly appreciate it. So, hey, I'm going to be covering a lot of topics, and I'm going to focus specifically. I just wanted to give a few different things that we're going to be going on, right? That we might be talking about. So pay attention. I'm gonna put a scumbag of the week up probably today or tomorrow, because every single day there's some scumbag ass teacher who's doing something they ain't got no business doing with the kids, and I'm gonna call them out. Those are not the people I'm fighting for when I made this channel. I'm fighting for the real teachers who need real voices. So salute to y'all. Slightly true. If you really want to be a turtle, go get some therapy. KTC, good morning. I was just about to lock out of here, so I'm gonna keep this up. But if you guys can y'all make sure that y'all share this channel? It's gonna be educational. It's gonna be informative. KTC, don't worry about it. I'll keep this up. But if you don't mind, sister, if you could share this channel. I know some of the people ain't that if you share it, some of those folks ain't gonna like that you shared it. But listen, um, I think we all have bigger issues than our YouTube disagreements, because at the end of the day, we're all parents. At the end of the day, our kids need education. At the end of the day, everybody deserves or needs to be informed about what's happening in their school buildings. And at the end of the day, you have to understand and recognize education is failing in America, and there's something we have to do something to fix it. Oh yeah, no, KTC, I get that. I know that, and that's why I rock with you. So, but this channel is definitely going to be education, 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 information for every parent out there who needs to know what's going on in their kids' school building, and also to need and for also a resource for all the teachers who need to feel like they need have a voice. I am that voice. So, hey, salute. Enjoy. What is it, Tuesday? Taco Tuesday. All right. I'm gone. Y'all take care. Peace.